This video is a tutorial for the tablefile shortcut file, which is included in the shortcut file library of the Inline Scripts plugin. The tablefile shortcut file allows loading files of tables, either individually or as a collection in a folder. It provides customizability for a number of things, including weighted table items and even for rolling a folder of files as if it was a table. For this demonstration, I've created a number of table files, including this one, which we'll start with. The only stipulation for a table file is that every item exists on its own line. So let's begin. First, I'll register the table file with the system. And then I'll roll it. So when you roll, it brings up this pop-up, which has a lot of optional features. But at its simplest, you could just click on the roll button or press the enter button, and it rolls to pick one or more items from the table. There are some basic parameters for the roll on this line. For instance, you can roll more than one item at a time. You can make sure that no item is picked more than once, and you can decide how the output is formatted. Right now we have comma-separated, bulleted, and perioded lists. So let's roll with these new options. If you roll again, then it remembers the options that you picked last time. So you can simply press enter to repeat your last action. So to demonstrate those options, let's try turning off unique picks, setting the pick count to 10, and let's try a different format. You notice we have 10 items now, and we definitely have repeats. The final format is called perioded, and it's just a variation on the bullets using periods, which can occasionally be useful for formatting. In addition to registering table files, you can also register folders of tables. And now when we roll a table, we can choose from any of the new table files. And just like with the rest of the settings, when you roll again, it remembers which table you rolled last time. So that's the basics of the table file shortcut file. But there's a lot more to it. If you click on the table configuration button, there are a bunch of settings that you can set up for each table. Starting with the title, which defines how the table is displayed in this list, and the description for more detailed information. This path is not editable, but lets you see where the table comes from. The filter tags gives you some control over custom filtering. Let's say we give the same tags to tech. Then you can filter down to just what you want. If a table file has a header section that's not part of the table, for instance here, then the table settings also lets you define what line to start reading from. For the final setting, let's load this tables2 folder, which includes weighted tables and one table with an odd layout. So the item format is the final setting, and it's a regular expression to define how each item is printed. It comes with a couple of presets. In this case, weighted item 1 to 5 is appropriate, and it shows a sample output based on the table start line. In this case, the item format will print the entire item up to the range, and then the range is pulled separately. Notice that we only need the second number of the range. The first number is always going to be one more than the prior number, so it can be safely ignored. So when we run this, well, let's run it a little bit more. Notice that hit to miss happens a lot, while critical hit and critical miss barely ever happen. That's due to the ranges and what they favor or don't favor. As a second example, take a look at this NPC class table. In this case, the weights are at the beginning. There's another item format preset for weights being at the beginning here. Again, manual labor shows up a lot, while wizard and noble barely show up at all. For a final example, this conditions, the table file actually stores the table in a markdown table. So first you have to set the start line beyond the header, and then you need an item format that can pull out the beginning text of that item. There is one final feature that lets you take a folder of files and treat it as a table of items. Add file table takes the path to the folder, and when we roll it, it looks like any other table except for it ends with the parenthesis file table. And if you go into the settings, the path begins with tilde files tilde to signify that it's a files table. By default, each file picked will display as its entire path. But if we want to, we can limit that with the item format. You can choose either the base file name or the full file name. And you'll notice the full file name will take away the folders leading up to the file name, whereas the base file name will take away both the folders and the extension. Okay, let's wrap up by reviewing the shortcuts of the shortcut file. Table reset will remove all the registered tables and any configurations we've set up for any of the tables. Table add we've used to add either a single table file or a folder of table files. Table add file table lets you register a folder of files and treat it as if it's a table of items. Table list lists out the registered tables. Oh, actually it lists out the registered table paths rather than the individual tables necessarily. Table roll displays the pop-up that we've been using, which is how you typically roll as a user. There's also a version of table roll where you define all the parameters as part of the shortcut. This is mostly useful for calling this shortcut file from your own shortcuts. And that's pretty much it for the table file shortcut file. I hope that helps. Thanks for watching.